Hey, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today with author Tina Capircorn. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and about your work?
Absolutely. I'm Tina Capricorn. I'm a sci-fi fantasy indie author. I'm the author of two books. They're in the same universe, The Anchor of Time and Shadowglass Time Magic, Blood Magic.
I love those covers, by the way.
Oh, can you tell I love purple?
Right, right. I'm just getting that vibe just a little. Purple's
Yeah.
good.
And I used to have purple hair too. So I even used to match my covers.
I should totally dye my hair to match my book.
Why not,
What?
right? Why not?
Because it's green. Let's
That's
just go with that.
okay. Yeah.
That is my favorite color, but I've never really considered having my hair that color. I'll give it some thought. Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead. Tell us more about
Um,
your genre and who your ideal reader is.
Yeah, so I would say I definitely say sci-fi fantasy, but I definitely feel like my books bridge the gap of science fantasy, where I really like, especially in the Anchor of Time, I did a lot of research about like black holes and quantum physics and how time travel works.
Oh,
But then I
wow.
broke it down and I wanted to mythologize it, I think is how I say the word, a little
Okay.
bit in the book, and I wanted it to seem more magical, because I really like the nuance between science and magic, tech and magic, and like how magic is really just we don't understand it. That's what we call it, magic. And so that theme really plays a lot in both of my books.
That sounds
So
awesome. So just to try
yeah,
and so it has a science foundation to it, so it feels really real, but yet you still have the
yeah,
mysticism with it. I think that sounds like
yeah.
a really cool concept.
Yeah, I think it kind of lets for me as a person that loves to read fantasy and science fiction, I feel like I get to just pull the best of both genres and put it in there. And so when I feel like something isn't quite science fiction-y, I'm like, well, it's a fantasy book too.
Mhm.
And so I really enjoy that. And then, Shadowglass is more of a historical novel that does have time travel in it. But this one is set in 1944 in January in Germany, right at the end of World War II. And it's
Mhm.
basically about a ragtag group of found family mythological beings trying to save the world. There's, of course, another magical war
Wow.
happening at the same time as our human World War II.
Oh, that's
And so,
interesting.
yeah, and so there's this magical backdrop to a setting we're all very familiar with.
Mhm.
Um, and it plays into the greater fantasy story within these books. This is kind of considered a prequel,
Mhm.
but you can read them in any order because it's time travel. Um,
So you don't know whether you've already read it or whether you're going to read it in the future,
yeah,
right?
yeah. If you can't tell, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. If you can't tell, that's a TARDIS behind me. So
Oh, right. I didn't
yeah,
notice that before, but now that you mention it,
yeah, here I can,
okay. There
yeah,
you go. There it
yeah.
is.
So I just really love the play of telling a story in a nonlinear way. And so my books are like the genesis of my books is following a bloodline of beings that can manipulate time,
Mhm.
and other unseen forces. And it's just kind of following their family in the adventures they get up to. And there, I lean heavily romantic. I love to read romance, but I also love science fiction and fantasy. So I feel like if you enjoy like Deborah Harkness and the All Souls series, and if you like Karen Marie Monig and just how kind of wild and out there her fantasy can get, and if you enjoy like Cressley Cole and her romance and the world building within her romance, I think you will enjoy either of these books. So if
Well,
any of those check
that's
your
awesome.
boxes, yeah, that's definitely some comparative titles for that. But
I love
uh,
some romance, but I definitely like there to be like some plot going on too.
yeah,
If
yeah.
it's just romance, I mean, I can read a straight romance, don't tell anyone, but just kidding. But we like romantic themes, but I like my
Yeah.
favorite books have like a lot of action, a lot of things going on
Mhm.
surrounding and supporting a romantic plot or
Yeah,
subplot.
absolutely.
So those
Mhm.
sound really interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, good. So tell us about your audiobook. We talked a
Yeah,
little bit about that. It sounded so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So last spring I started a Kickstarter to do the audiobook of The Anchor of Time.
Uh-huh.
And it was successful. And I've since I should say I haven't. Marisa, my audiobook narrator, has recorded it and it is available now. on
Mhm.
Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. But Marisa is also gracing the cover of the book. She's a close friend of mine. We've been friends forever.
That's, I love it.
Like,
That's so
yeah,
cool.
like 10 years ago, I asked her to pose for some photos that I was like, I would hope, I'm like, I'm hoping I'll develop this into a cover. But at the time I was hadn't even considered how I would publish,
Hmm.
or anything like that. I just wanted to get some graphics and some, just, some ideas about what it might look like. And she had just started doing voice acting and screen acting at the time. And I just joked with her, like, well, maybe one day when this is published and finished, you can record the audiobook. And so fast forward
She's
almost
like,
10 years later.
sure.
Yeah, and
I'm not even busy yet.
she's actually an award-winning voice actress, and she won like 2 awards in 2020 and
That's
2021.
that's awesome.
But yeah, so she recorded it last summer, and I released it last December. So if you love audiobooks, like I love audiobooks, give it a listen. It's available right now.
That
But
is
yeah,
awesome. We were just talking about how many readers just really rely on audiobooks because I mean, we're all busy. I'm busy, you're busy, and it's so hard to sit down and read
yeah,
that it's just, I mean, I would only get through maybe about a tenth the books I get through if they weren't
hmm,
audiobooks. And
absolutely.
so, yeah, we'll have to check that one out. It looks really cool. Do you,
Yay! Please do.
yeah. And so what's next? What do you have? What are you working on next?
So right now, I am in the middle of edits with the Anchor of Time sequel,
Uh-huh.
Lightbreaker.
Hmm.
And Lightbreaker is hopefully coming out this summer. I'm about to send it off to a line editor here at the end of February.
Oh,
And
that's
once I get that
exciting.
back, I know, once I get that back, I'll have a better idea of my timeline, but I'm definitely thinking middle to late summer, fingers crossed. I'm really excited
I'm
about the
crossing for you.
sequel. I'm so in love with all my characters. I'm so in love with how the story has progressed because, again, it's following a family, so Renata, who's featured in this book as the main character in the sequel, is actually a grandmother. And so it's following the
Oh.
family dynamic and the family line. And we're kind of seeing, you know, how, if you are a fantastic being, how family life might be and what your decisions, because you are so powerful, how they might affect the world around you. Because it's not just phooey, I burned the muffins if you could alter time. There's big repercussions if you can alter time.
Right.
Um,
Well, and I think it's interesting if you bring that generational story in there as a theme that it kind of enhances or plays off your time travel thing because it's kind of just a sense of time passing and then, you can move the forward and backward into that too.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I also love that it allows me as a writer to kind of feel like I can, even within my genre, write a different book every time. The Anchor of Time is a contemporary, set in modern times. This one's historical.
Hmm.
Lightbreaker is dystopian. It's in the future.
Oh,
A,
that's interesting.
a cataclysmic event has occurred, before we catch up with our characters to alter the environment. And as a result, magic has returned to the world, but at some significant costs to the earth. So,
Oh, well, that
but
sounds fascinating.
yeah, yeah. So you'll have to find out what happens. You'll have to read Lightbreaker when it comes out this summer. And in the meantime, check out The Anchor of Time. It's available in paperback and audiobook.
Well, that'll
So
be awesome. Well, when you get the pre-order ready for the new one, let me know. We'll run a we'll let our audience know
yeah,
about the pre-order and
absolutely.
we'll include some links to these books so that everybody can find them with this interview. And it has been so fun to get to know you and to learn a little bit more about your work. And thanks so much for doing this interview today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Sure, I'm sure we'll hear more from you and see what you do next.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.